Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Can you hear in the back row?
Yeah.
Can you hear in Kaka'ako?
It's still loud, yeah.
It's really loud.
The kitchen devotees appreciate it.
Yeah.
They actually have a speaker.
But
It's
somehow
not
it
very
doesn't
loud.
it doesn't go through very well unless the
Yeah.
mic is turned up.
So today we'll hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, texts 25 and 26. A bit about the Lord's transcendental form on the lotus feet. Ayamato, Vistarata, Spamana, Dehena, I'm sorry. Ayamato Vistara Spamana, Dehena, Loka, Traya, Sangrahena, Dehena Loka Traya Sangrahena, Vichitra, Divya, Abharanam Shukanam, Vichitra Divyam Bharanam Sukhanam, Krita, Shriya Pashrita, Vesha, Deham, Krita Shriya Pashrita Vesha Deham, Ayamato Vistarata Svamana, Dehena Lokatraya Sangrahena, Vichitra Divya Bharanam Shukanam, Ritashriya Pashuta Vesha Deham, Ayamato Vistarata Svamana, Dehena Lokatraya Sangrahena, Vichitra Divya Bharanam Shukanam, Ritashriya Pashrita Vesha Deham, Others, please.
Ayatmato Vishra Vistarata Samana Dehena Lokatraya Sangrahena Vichitra Divya Bharanam Sukhanam
Dehena Lokatraya Sangrahena
Devena Lokatraya Sangrahena
Vichitra Divya Bharanam Shukhanam
Vichitra Divya Varanam Shukhanam
Gritashya Bhashata Deshadeham
Gritashya Bhashita Deshadeham.
Synonyms. Ayamataha,
Ayamataha
by length.
By length.
Vistarataha,
Vistarataha.
by breadth.
By breadth.
Svamana,
Samana
by his own measurement.
By his own measurement.
Dehena,
Devena
by the transcendental body.
By the transcendental body.
Lokatraya,
Lokatraya.
the three,
The three.
upper, middle, and lower
Upper, middle, and lower.
planetary systems.
Planetary systems.
Sangrahena,
Sangrahena.
by total absorption.
By total absorption.
Vichitra,
Vichitra
variegated.
Variegated.
Divya,
Divya
transcendental.
Transcendental.
Abharana Anshukan,
Abharana.
I'm sorry. Abharana Anshukanam, rays of the ornaments.
Rays of the ornaments.
Kritashriya Apashrita,
Krishna.
beauty created by those dresses and ornaments.
Beauty created by those dresses and ornaments.
Vesha,
Vesha.
dressed.
Yes.
Deham,
Deham.
transcendental body.
Transcendental body.
Translation. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress, and variegatedness was properly ornamented. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness, and was properly ornamented. Responsively, please. His transcendental body,
His transcendental body.
unlimited in length and breadth,
Unlimited in length and breadth.
occupied the three planetary systems,
Occupied the three planetary systems.
upper, middle, and lower.
Upper, middle, and lower.
His body was self-illuminated
His body was self-illuminated
by unparalleled dress and variegatedness,
by unparalleled dress and variegatedness,
and was properly ornamented.
and was properly ornamented.
Srila Prabhupada's purport. The length and breadth of the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead could only be measured by his own measurement, because he is all-pervading throughout the complete cosmic manifestation. The beauty of material nature is due to his personal beauty, and yet he is always magnificently dressed and ornamented to prove his transcendental variegatedness, which is so important in the advancement of spiritual knowledge. Text 26. Pumsam swakamaya viviktamargaya abhyachatam kama dukham ripadmam padarshayantam kripaya nakindu mayukha dinangulicharupatram. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a lotus flower. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Lord fulfills the desires of everyone, just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from him. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving his favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that pure devotional service is jnana karma dhyanavartam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely, direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, Vamanosavanavratam te medhyata sutta parardante so udyata gopavesho me purustat abir bhavuva. After penetrating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Jami. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukhaṁ karoti vācharam pangum langhayate girim jakrapatamaham bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadanayam Dadati Svapadantikam Manchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhobhya eva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo Ayamato vistarata svamana dehena lokatraya samgrahena vichitra divyam bharanam shukanam krita shriyapashrita veshadeham. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness, and was properly ornamented. Sam svakamaya viviktamargaya ravyarchatam kama dukhagri padmam padarshayantam kripaya nakindu mayuka Charupatram. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays of his moonlight toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a lotus flower. Nope. So this is the ultimate goal of life. Direct perception of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And it can be attained only by pure devotional service. So we see that in the second verse. Vivikta Marga, the path of devotional service, and Srila Prabhupada clarifies it in his translation by qualifies it by saying it's the source of all awards achieved by devotional service free from all material contamination. And then he highlights that in his purport by citing the 11th verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Nyavilashi Tishunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanavartam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. This is the topic of all our literature. One topic only, and that's Uttama Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. And by pure, we mean completely untinged by any other goal. We don't have a holding in reserve, a desire to enjoy the material world. If we have some faith in our ability to enjoy in this material world, then we're not eligible for pure devotional service. Those who are eligible for fighting bhakti, described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, are those who are free from these contaminations and therefore not too attached to the material world and not too detached from the material world. Too attached to the material world means your faith is here. Too detached from the material world means you don't have faith in Krishna's lotus feet. You have faith in some sense of oneness with him. Although we looked yesterday at chapter 4 of Nectar of Devotion, yesterday afternoon, and we saw that all kinds of liberation are of absolutely no interest to the devotees. That chapter is 30 verses from the Bhagavatam and other Puranas and a couple of other sources as well, all describing how pure devotees have no interest even in sarshti, samukya, salokya, samyukya, what to speak of sayuja, mukti. No interest whatsoever. Bhagavatam tells us, well, Krishna tells us at the very end of Bhagavad Gita, forget everything else. Sarva dharman parityaja. Sarva dharma. All other conceptions of dharma. What do you do with them? Parityaja. Throw them out. Kick them out. Flush them. Get completely rid of them. Parityaja means, tyaja means renounce. Parityaja means completely renounce. You don't want to have anything to do with them. Sarva dharman parityaja mamikam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarvapapibhyo mokshayishami masvaja. Don't worry. Don't worry about anything. Just give up everything else, everything other than taking exclusive shelter of me. And if there's some fault incurred in doing so, masvaja. No worries. I've got you covered, I've got your back. I can take care of that. And then the Bhagavatam picks up at the very next step. Dharma prajita kartavotra paramonir matsaram sata. Dharma prajita, same thing. Parityaja prajita. Uchita means to reject, prajita, completely reject. Dharma prajita kartava dharma. Dharma prajita kartava paramonir matsaram satam. Here's a literature for those whose hearts are completely pure, completely free from envy, because they don't have any personal goals. They've given up all forms, all conventional forms of religion, which amount to cheating religion. And this is a post that I've bounded maybe too many times for some, not enough for myself, because I need to hear it. But when Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami discusses this verse in the 22nd chapter of Madhya Lila, he says, what do we mean by Kaitava Dharma? What do we mean by cheating religion? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, vancha. Wait, that's everything. That's the whole world, including some kind of spiritual life, right? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, vancha. The giving up the desire, the aspiration for just being virtuous and for getting the kinds of rewards you might get out of a virtuous life, making material progress, artha, kama, and enjoying the results of that material progress. And then once you've realized it's all a scam, wanting to be free of all that. Even that freedom is a trick, because it comes covered with this idea that I'm the whole thing. That's the Sayuja Mukti especially. The others, Sarshti, Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya, they're okay in their place.
Jai Shri Panchatattva ki.
Shri Panchatattva ki jai. They're okay in their place. because at least they afford some opportunity for service. They don't completely foreclose any opportunity for service, whereas the Sayuj means there's no one to serve. It's all me. I'm you, and he is me, and we are all together. So this is the goal of that kind of devotional service, being able to see the Lord's beautiful form and his lotus feet personally. So I thought I'd share a couple of descriptions of the Lord's form and his lotus feet from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the two that come most readily to my mind are in the 4th canto, when Dhruva Maharaj is instructed by Narada Muni how to meditate on the form of the Lord as he chants the mantra that he's given to him. And no, because the grandmas are going to jump in with that. What's the mantra? Let's hear it all together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he gave him this form of the Lord to meditate on as he chanted. It says, the Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He's more beautiful than all the demigods. The Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. Adurna Oshta, Adurna, color of the rising sun. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul, and anyone so fortunate as to look on him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Srivatsa, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person, and he wears a garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest with 4 hands, which hold, beginning from the lower left hand, a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. The entire body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet, necklaces, and bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustuka jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. The Lord is decorated with small golden bells around his waist, and his lotus feet are decorated with golden ankle bells. All his bodily features are very attractive and pleasing to the eyes. He is always peaceful, calm, and quiet, and very pleasing to the eyes and mind. Real yogis meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord as he stands on the whorl of the lotus of their hearts. The jewel-like nails of his lotus feet glisten. The Lord is always smiling, and the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form as he looks very mercifully toward the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benedictions. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination, and he does not come down from meditation on the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to that verse, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the easiest process of meditation in this age. As soon as one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he sees the forms of Krishna, Rama, and their energies, and that is the perfect stage of trance. one should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna, but when the chanting is performed offenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the view of the chanter. I wanted to stumble to the beginning of the next chapter.
Excuse me, boss. You haven't.
The world's most passive-aggressive text message alert. So I wanted to also share Dhruva's reaction when his meditation was broken by the Lord, and he opened his eyes and saw that same form of the Lord face to face. I've been thinking about this. I was really attracted to these two verses during these, discussing these two verses together, because I guess at breakfast maybe, or lunch, I don't remember, I overheard Narayani telling about when she first met the devotees, and she just asked them, what's the deal? What do you get from this? What does this practice yield? And the response?
You get to see Krishna face to face.
Get to see Krishna face to face.
See God.
See God face to face. So there you go. So here's Dhruva, once he saw God face to face. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning, in which Dhruva Maharaj in his mature yogic process was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. When Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisances and respect. He fell flat before him and offered him obeisances. He fell flat before him and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. So it's a bit of a yowza moment when we actually see the Lord. And I think everything else is probably pretty much shut down. And then the other one that I like to share sometimes is the description of the Lord on whom the yogis are meant to meditate. So Narada Muni was giving Dhruva Maharaj this instruction, be a yogi, just as Krishna tells Arjuna, Tasmad yogi of Arjuna. So I mentioned this to this friend of mine who was visiting us in Costa Rica, a young devotee woman from Poland, with whom I became friends over 3 months because I was the only person whose English she could actually understand. So we became like buddies. I was talking about that verse, Tasmad yogi bhavardu. Therefore, Arjuna, the yogi is better than everybody else. Therefore, become a yogi. And she says, I don't like yoga. I prefer belly dancing as exercise, I guess. And I said, well, but then you have to think about the kind of yogi that Krishna is asking Arjuna to become, not the going to the forest, sitting in a cave and just meditating on the super soul yogi, or even the Lululemon yoga studio yogi, but a devotee. So this is Krishna describing the yoga process to his friend and advisor Uddhava in the 11th canto. Keeping the eyes half closed and fixed on the tip of one's nose, being enlivened and alert, one should meditate on the lotus flower situated within the heart. This lotus has 8 petals and is situated on an erect lotus stalk. One should meditate on the sun, moon, and fire, placing them one after the other within the whorl of that lotus flower. Placing my transcendental form within the fire, one should meditate upon it as the auspicious goal of all meditation. That form is perfectly proportioned, gentle, and cheerful. It possesses 4 beautiful long arms, a charming, beautiful neck, a handsome forehead, a pure smile, and glowing shark-shaped earrings suspended from 2 identical ears. That spiritual form is the color of a dark rain cloud and is garbed in golden yellowish silk. The chest of that form is the abode of Srivatsa and the goddess of fortune, and that form is also decorated with a conch shell, disc, club, lotus flower, and a garland of forest flowers. 2 brilliant lotus feet are decorated with ankle bells and bracelets, and that form exhibits the Kaustuva gem along with an effulgent crown. The upper hips are beautified by a golden belt, and the arms are decorated with valuable bracelets. All of the limbs of that beautiful form capture the heart, and the face is beautified by merciful glancing. And then Krishna says, pulling the senses back from the sense objects, one should be grave and self-controlled, and should use the intelligence to strongly fix the mind upon all of the limbs of my transcendental body. Thus one should meditate upon that most delicate transcendental form of mine. And he continues, he goes a little further. He says, one should then pull the consciousness back from all the limbs of that transcendental body. At that time, one should meditate only on the wonderfully smiling face of the Lord. So, pow already, right? Finished? Being established in meditation on the Lord's face, one should then withdraw the consciousness and fix it on the sky. Then, giving up such meditation, one should become established in me and give up the process of meditation altogether. So immerse yourself in meditation. Become completely absorbed in me. Let your consciousness, and then just take shelter of me. Forget all this stuff. Just take shelter of me. Sarva dharma parijaya. Oh, and then a couple more verses from later in the 4th canto. Unless somebody objects. Oops. Nope. Oh, wrong canto. Still figuring out how to navigate all this digital stuff. I might get close to having it figured out by the end of my life. So, this is in the 20th chapter of the 4th canto, and this is when the Lord comes to this horse sacrifice that King Prithu is performing. And he actually comes to talk Prithu out of performing the 100th horse sacrifice, which he wants to do just to show up Indra. So he expresses his satisfaction with Prithu's character, his behavior as a leader of human society and so forth. And then he says, the Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained, because he is always the well-wisher of his devotees. So the Lord's a little reluctant to give up the company of his devotee. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice faltering and choked up, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. The Supreme Personality of Godhead stood with his lotus feet almost touching the ground while he rested on the front, rested the front of his hand on the raised shoulder of Garuda, the enemy of the snakes. Maharaj Prithu, wiping the tears from his eyes, tried to look upon the Lord, but it appeared that the king was not fully satisfied by looking at him. The king offered the following prayers. There's one that I want. Devotees will recognize this. Sauttama shloka maham mukha churto bhavat padam bhoja shuddha kana nila smitam punarvismita tattva vartmanam kuyoginam no itaratyalam varat. My Lord, you were glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of the great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. And so this verse reminds us also of what the process is for attaining that darshan, that direct darshan of the Lord's lotus feet. And that's serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Sri Guru Charanapatna, Kevala Bhakti. And we see that, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that's the very beginning of devotional service. Guru Pada Ashrayas, and then Diksha Shikshadi, and then, what's my favorite word? Anyway, that's the strangest word to escape me because it's one of my favorite words in Sanskrit. Confidently serving the Lord's lotus feet. Radhesha. Okay.
I can find it.
I feel less, I'm a little less embarrassed. So, Guru Padashrayas, taking shelter of the lotus feet of a spiritual master, and then taking initiation and instruction from him, and then Vishram being a Guru of Seva, serving him with confidence, with trust, serving him intimately, serving him respectfully, over, because there are gurus who are women. If you look at Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Guru Varga, there are probably about 30-35% of the gurus in that lineage are women. So taking shelter of his or her lotus feet and serving him or her with respect, with confidence, with intimacy. And as we've heard a few times over the last few days, sometimes that often means being able to anticipate the guru's need. You don't have to necessarily be told. That's the first-class student, first-class disciple. Those kind of disciples aren't just disciples. I have a friend who said on a couple of occasions, we're not looking for disciples. We're looking for gurus. We're looking for people who will become teachers of Krishna consciousness. So that's our hope, that we'll be able to somehow or other find a little Shraddha somewhere, spark it, fan that spark, and throw it into a blazing fire that will spread and consume the forest fire of material life. I'll stop now. Any comments or questions if they're quick? Jack Gopal.
Well, a couple of verses back, it described the Lord lying on the bed of Seshanaga. And here you see that the Lord is standing. So is that a different form of the Lord that's standing than the one that's lying on is it still Mahavishnu, or is that a different form of the Lord?
Prithu's vision is the Lord standing. Dhruva's vision is the Lord standing. the vision that's being described here, actually, that's lying on Sheshanaga, but it's more than a fair question, because in Srila Prabhupada's purport to the second verse, the form that he describes Brahma as seeing is not this form, but it's Krishna dressed in Gopa-vesha. Krishna appeared to him as a cowherd boy. And if you read those, Srila Prabhupada's, well, if you read those verses, several verses in the 9th chapter of the second canto. And so the Chatushloki are 33, 4, 5, and 6. But you read the neighboring verses, and you see that the Lord appeared and shook Brahma's hand, and Srila Prabhupada, and the verse says, just as a friend would shake your hand. And Srila Prabhupada says this means that this indicates that Brahma is in a relationship, friendship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Gopal Krishna. And so this description that we got in that purport comes from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, which is another place where Brahma is meeting with Krishna after going through that lotus stem for millions of years, and he eventually does see the Lord face to face. He sees him dressed as a cowherd. So there are several forms being described here, and they're all good for meditation. But as Stephen brought up in our meeting yesterday afternoon, there'll be different forms and different names for devotees in whom different kinds of relationships with the Lord arise, in whose hearts those different kinds of relationships arise. So, yeah, it's a good question, especially since I added a couple of other descriptions of the Lord's form. Anything else really quick? Thank you. Prantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Yes.
Samavika Prabhupada.